right, here we are, another episode of Midday Due Diligence, a part of Pick Six Sports. I'm Stevie J. That's Camber. Be sure that you guys like and subscribe whenever you pop in so that you can get everything that we do. Of course, the Friday shows, we do Monday shows. We're just popping up because Camber didn't have the opportunity to get it in yesterday. And the thing is, because it's the Dallas Cowboys, 24 hours as the clock turns over means there's a whole new set of things to talk about. Everything that we discussed yesterday on the Midday Due Diligence, me, Massey, Nix, we've got all new topics because that's how it goes in Cowboys Nation. There's always something to talk about.
Always. The last 24 hours is like spun completely. And I was a little busy yesterday, but I might have needed that 24 hours to decompress. I got my feels, I got a little irritated. I went through the 5 stages of grief, and here we are.
Yeah, and speaking of spun, Jerry's out there, man, he's doing the job, ain't he?
He is a spin doctor, a hope dealer, Kool-Aid salesman. We can just keep going.
Dealer. I like that, a hope dealer. Dang.
It is. It's a bunch of hope. I mean,
it is.
Let's call it what it is.
Yesterday, of course, Nix did a Monday space, and someone was saying, you know what? I just don't feel like last year. I don't feel the same now as I did after the loss last year. They're going to try to sell you on hope, but we don't have it right now. It's a tougher sell at this point in time. Because we didn't believe in what they did in the offseason. I mean, last year they could sell us a little bit. Micah Parsons, all right, he's going to be a beast. Oh, man. And he turned out to be. Dak Prescott was back after missing for the season. We were excited about the wide receiving core. You had an offensive line you could believe in. Dan Quinn came in place of Mike Nolan. So there were like things a year ago that you could say, man, I am really excited about what's to come. But that was because the Dallas Cowboys went toe-to-toe with a defending Super Bowl champion and was a Greg Zuerlein field goal away from winning that game. Here,
right,
we all pretty much are in agreement with this offseason going, you went backwards, brother. Y'all, I mean, I don't know how many people are just straight up against moving on from La'el Collins and Amari Cooper. But everybody is against the fact that they didn't really do anything to address it. And that's the problem. And that's why that's why the hope isn't there. Because you went out, you looked, you didn't lose like, oh man, if we had just made that field goal, you lost because you look like you can't even operate.
Right. So I'm going to be a defensive Cowboys fan for the rest of the season. In Dan Quinn, I trust. Yeah. And, I may have to. I will watch when the defense is on the field. And then if I have to get up and get a snack or get another beverage or something while our offense is on the field, that may be my game plan.
How about this? Kicker aced it.
One of one.
Yeah, one of one. I'd say it's, another thing that we've mentioned is all of the issues that we were worried about came to fruition. I mean, they came to light and reared their ugly head, except Brett Maher.
Right.
Brett Maher came out and did his job. Good job. Way to go.
Special teams. I had no issue. I mean, not many issue with special teams performance either. That's solid. So if I could just take last year's offense, pluck it and put it down with this year's defense and the special teams, we might be a happy Cam and not a spicy Cam right now.
Yeah. And, I know a lot of people kind of picked at Turpin. And I get it. He didn't have much of an impact. But, guys, first game of his NFL career. Right. I'm down to say, let's give him a little bit. You could tell on one of the punts he was maybe called fair catch and wishes he had a return.
Right.
But otherwise, it's not a big deal. First game of his career, he'll be all right. He'll be good.
Right.
With that, we got a list of things to discuss today. Like we said 24 hours ago, is completely different. So, first and foremost, let's jump on the topic of Dak Prescott and not just his timetable for a return, which has changed since the initial report of the injury, but also the discussion of it's kind of happening a lot. It's this and that. And when it's this heals, then that comes up. And are we reaching a point where we say that Dak Prescott is injury prone?
Okay, so I'm going to say he's not injury prone at this point. He has not had a complete season now since 2019. If it had been the same type of injury over, if we see the calf injury come back again, if we see the shoulder injury come back again, and those become chronic, yes, then we start to have the discussion of he's injury prone. I think in that hit that snapped his ankle, if that had been Tom Brady, if it had been Aaron Rodgers, I mean, we can plug in names, their ankle would have snapped. I think about any quarterback whose thumb got bent back not once but twice, their thumb snaps. Are we starting to maybe have to talk about him going into the same category as Romo with different injuries consistently happening down the line? Maybe.
See, the thing about Romo was when you look at Dak, you still see a very solid body. You still see, the 6'2", 230, 235-pound frame. And you're not so much worried about a hit taking him out like you were Romo. Like when Tony snapped the ball, sometimes you were like, oh, God, please just get that thing out of your hand as quick as you possibly can and let's live to fight another day. Like that's how it felt down the stretch of his career. And, that's what it was. With Dak, it's not so much can he handle the contact of the game of football, and more so like this step caused this tweak and then, rolling out and he planted and threw to CeeDee Lamb and the calf. And like, it's troublesome things like that continue to pop up. And I don't know, is his body wired too tight? Does he need to, take off the bulk and maybe get in the yoga studio or what? I don't know, but they're both Romo and Dak always had a little this or that, but for Romo, it was from just taking the beating. Dak can hold up to that. That's not the problem with Dak. It's these little things that just keep popping up here and there. And obviously the leg injury in 2020 was no little thing, but ever since then, that's what it's been.
Yeah, I agree. And then the one thing that I think we have learned from the injury report now that we got this morning, that now they're talking 3 weeks possibly. We're not going to go find a veteran quarterback to get us through these next 3 weeks.
No.
They're not going to. If Dak is not going on IR, they are not going to look outside of this organization for a quarterback. So.
And they tried it whenever Romo went down in 2015. All right. Mm-hmm. And they had Brandon Weeden on the roster. He was not playing very well. And then they went and traded for Matt Castle. They made a trade with the Buffalo Bills. I think he was with the Bills at that time.
Right.
Brought in Matt Castle. Neither of those guys worked out. And I just don't see – I think that John Kitna was a pretty good backup quarterback for him at one point. But Brad Johnson, you had an experienced guy. But otherwise – they're probably rolling with Cooper Rush. And if he doesn't do well, they may give Will Grier a chance.
Right. And I'd bring Kitna back as a quarterback coach. I think Dak was happiest and progressed the most with having Kitna. The other thing is even going out and finding a veteran quarterback, they're not playing this weekend. They don't know the scheme. They don't know the plays. You can't just plug and play in a quarterback. So that would have been looking further down the line. So, yeah, 3 weeks, Dak back. It's Cooper Rush and Will Grier time.
Yeah, Robert, you may get Ben DiNucci back on the practice squad is what you may get. Though he looks better in the preseason than he's ever looked in his career, but I still don't want him taking NFL snaps, ones versus ones. I mean, sometimes you get fooled when these guys play other backups and other practice squatters and guys who are going to get cut. I mean, look at what happened with Matt Farniok. I mean, he looked stellar in the preseason to the point where we were, myself included, and I'm hugely against this type of thing. But hey, position flex on the offensive line, center, left guard, right guard, this guy, and then hey, he's going to be in at left guard. Let's go. Let's see. Oh, that didn't go well. That was pretty ugly, as a matter of fact. Turns out that starters are a lot better than third stringers and practice squatters. So Matt Farniok, that didn't go quite as well. They've got to do something to also address the offensive line while Dak is out. And I hate it for Cooper Rush, but sorry, brother, but you may be a little bit of a guinea pig to find out how exactly they can make this offensive line mesh.
Our 4 next defensive lines that we meet: Cincinnati, Giants, Washington, Rams. All pretty good defensive lines.
That ain't bad. I mean, that's real bad.
Yeah, but it's not good for us. But they're all very solid defensive lines that we face coming up. So, Cooper Rush. I hope he's got his lucky rabbit foot. I hope he's doing whatever he needs to.
Can he catch lightning in a bottle twice?
That's what I'm wondering. Can Minnesota be replicated?
What about 3, 4, 5, or 6 or 7 times? Because that's what's going to have to happen.
Yeah.
It's a lot of lightning.
That's a lot
in one play. That's a lot of lightning, and it doesn't happen very often. So I'm curious. I'm really interested to see, because he didn't look bad against Tampa Bay, but also Tampa Bay's just like, okay, let's just not mess this thing up. Prevent defense. People who are saying, well, Rush looked better than Dak. For one, I thought Dak didn't look great. Like I thought something was wrong with him before even going out. They told us that the pop was just scar tissue. I'm to a point I don't believe anything they say. Not that that's not the truth, but was it?
Right.
Why should I believe you?
Yeah.
And then he goes out and the ball's coming out funny out of his hands. And, then the finger injury. And like you said, he got it hit twice. And that second time they run a third play. He throws the screen, little bubble out, and then he goes out. Right. And so it's really curious as to what was really going on with Dak Prescott leading up to that injury. Physical thing, mental thing, I don't know. But something didn't quite seem right.
Yeah, he seemed rusty to me in some ways, and I know it was the thing across the NFL pretty much that they weren't playing starters. That I bet you 85% of the starters, it didn't seem like played in the preseason. And something I kind of saw yesterday in the Seahawks game with Denver, Seattle played a lot of their starters, especially against us, and for a lot of the game. And I'm almost wondering if, they got that rhythm and that experience actually playing in these games made some of the difference in their game last night. And maybe they're going to have to change and figure out, they do need some of these snaps in preseason. I don't know.
Which is really interesting because the year before, again, I mean, he hadn't played in a long, long time. Coming off injury, you've got to deal with not just the physical, but the mental aspect of that as well. That's when I was worried. And then he goes out and throws for 400 and 3 touchdowns, and I was like, okay, maybe I'm tripping. Maybe. But
he came back to an offensive line and a wide receiver core that he very much knew.
That's absolutely.
And the dynamics were completely changed this time for him. So I'm thinking maybe a quarter in preseason might have been good for these guys to get on the field. And
then you look at the injury. McGovern, this is an interesting thing. And I haven't kept up with injuries across the league. Totally, but I know Basham played in the preseason. McGovern played in the preseason. Kirsch did not. Because he was dealing with an issue. But I haven't paid attention to other guys who got hurt across the league. I'm worried about my own squad right now. I'm trying to take care of A1,
I did hear something that every ACL and MCL was on turf.
Oh, of course.
Of
course. I mean, how many grass fields are even left in the NFL?
Is Soldier Field?
Soldier Field, yeah. Heinz. Pittsburgh's nasty field.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure that in Washington they have grass and
do they? Crabgrass, something.
Yeah, they've probably let it die over the summer, and they're just playing on brown and dirt, But that's who they are as an organization. But Green Bay, yeah, absolutely. And that's a whole nother topic, and that's actually a really, really hot topic across high school sports because turf is cheaper because you pay for it initially, then you never have to maintain it unless it's like once a year, once every other year, something of that nature. You don't have to pay someone to cut it, to stripe it, to do all these things. And so they go with turf, but it's a lot more non-contact injuries on turf. And so there's a big push to go back to grass at this point. And I agree. I mean, if it's for the betterment of the health of the players, then I am 100% for going back to grass. Let me ask you something, Camber.
Sure.
Your guy, Brian Broaddus.
Yeah.
All right. He brought up something. He mentioned it. And
this one.
BB does a fantastic job of saying these things that will grab you and be like, whoa, hold up. But he says it in kind of like this passive, like, I kind of heard that this a little, I heard this, and then he keeps talking and you're like, oh, okay, wait, hold up. Back up.
He drops little bombs in there, subtle bombs.
Did you just say that the head coach of this football team doesn't know the offense? He can't take over the offense because he doesn't know the offense. Is that? Yeah, that's what Brian Broaddus just said. I would love for him to expound on that, but he kind of did. He was like, it's a language thing. He doesn't know the terminology that Kellen Moore's offense uses. All the while I'm thinking, dude, I know people who have moved across the world and picked up on foreign languages in less than a year. Okay. How concerning is this to you?
It's extremely, especially now that we're in year 3. We're in year 3 and he's an offensive coach. So I'm thinking, so he's just going to hand it down. Like Kellen Moore can't be there. Something happens to Kellen Moore, it's going to go down to the next guy, and our head coach can't even be help directing in that situation. I'm sorry, if I'm the head coach of an organization like this and I'm an offensive coach, I understand that he said it's his to plug in and his to run. That's fine. But I'm going to educate myself, and I'm going to be very aware and understand the terminology that's being thrown out there.
Yeah, if you hire teachers, let's say you're a principal at a school, you may not be in the classroom teaching the kids, but you know the curriculum. I mean, you understand what your school is going to teach, right? So you are a head coach. How are you supposed to help on game day? Like, what are you doing on the sideline if you don't know the offense and the language and everything? Are you just like standing by the water cooler while some folks who speak a whole different language, like talking about you, like, just a whole nother language, and look at you and laugh, and you just kind of like, ha, I don't know what's going on over here. Yeah, like, what is going on?
That, and to know the play that's going to be ran, so you know where your eyes need to be watching what's going on, that if there is some kind of flag, or there should have been a flag or something going on, that you know where you should be looking ahead of time to be proactive. I don't know.
Now, here's the question. How did this team get this bad? We were 12-5 a season ago. How did this team get this bad? And I think that the answer is what we've always known the answer to be. You have a head coach who doesn't know the offensive terminology in year 3. They've had the same offensive coordinator, right? It's been Kellen Moore. Mike McCarthy comes in. This is his third year. This would be something that would alarm a GM, that would alarm, red flags. And they have ignored Mike McCarthy red flags since the get-go. You remember the very first thing out of Mike McCarthy's mouth when he got to this team was, I went back and watched the 2019 film, and I tell you, I saw every snap. I saw every single play. And then at his presser to introduce him as the head coach, he drops the bomb on Jerry sitting right next to him and says, nah, I lied. I didn't really do that. And you can see, if you find that video, and you can see Jerry just, what? And they let him get away with it. They let him skate. Aaron Rodgers said he's lazy. This past year was the first time in his coaching career that he's ever been out scouting for the draft, ever. All right. Maybe that's just a thing he didn't do. I don't know. But suddenly he needs to go do it. Why? Right. Why is that? And now we find out that you don't know the terminology in your own offense. It's true. I don't believe Aaron Rodgers' medical advice. I'm going to go to a doctor for that. But when he says someone on his team is lazy, I'll listen. I'll listen to that.
And it's not the only place I've ever heard it. I've heard it multiple places. So that, and okay, if you're a true head coach and you have 3 very important players that this organization is just going to be gone. If I was the head coach and I got told, we're going to get rid of Amari Cooper, we're going to get rid of Randy, and we're going to get rid of LAL, and not do a damn thing to fix those 3 holes that we put in this boat that's going to sink, I'd have been freaking out. I would have done my damnedest, either to fight to keep one of them, do whatever I had to make sure those 3 walked, especially when 2 of them were under contract. When 2 of them were players that I should have been able to count on to be on the team next year. But just let them go. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, unless that changes, Sean Payton will not be our quarterback or our head coach next year. He won't.
No, and again, I'm okay with letting guys go. You just got to have a plan. You got to put something in place. Let's take a look at the Rams. They went from Robert Woods to Odell Beckham Jr. to Allen Robinson. Now, Robinson didn't do anything in his first game, but it's one game. You're the defending Super Bowl champs. They were playing the Bills. They're going to be fine. All right, you look at the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh, they lost Tyreek Hill. Oh, I bet Pat Mahomes isn't going to be the same after they lose Tyreek Hill. Well, the front office didn't allow something like that to occur because they went out and got Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and they also drafted Sky Moore, everyone's pet cat from the draft. Yeah.
Right.
So, there's really Tua. They were like, yeah, we got to put more around Tua. They went out and did it. There's example after example of teams who are like, we have to help our franchise guy. Meanwhile, the Cowboys take the attitude of, you're the franchise guy. This whole thing is now your responsibility. And that's how you lose. That by just, hey, it's all yours. This is yours. All right. If you don't make it work, it's your fault, not ours. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we cost you a right tackle. We cost you a wide receiver 1. But if you don't make it work, that's on you, buddy. So that's been their approach. Stephen Jones threw Mike McCarthy under the bus yesterday. They've never had to take responsibility in their life for anything, and that just continues on, as the star.
No fear of losing their job.
Yeah, no, and we've heard Jerry Jones say before that if a GM made the same moves that I made, he wouldn't be here. I'm like, oh. So, and that's the thing is they don't really mind telling us what we already know. Like, yeah, but hey, who cares, right? We run the show. But at the end of the day, we're still going to put a team on the field. We're still going to go out and we're going to play the Bengals. We could see Jason Peters this week. I'm interested to see how they handle that situation. And Cam, there was something said about Jason Peters that might perk our ears up.
Yeah, that he's a great tackle that can play both sides. So, and Steele's performance was horrible. It was awful. I mean, it was not up to par as to what we were led to believe, that Steele had progressed and that he'd be okay over there. And I honestly believe that they're going to keep Tyler Smith, who wasn't that big of a problem over there at left tackle, except for, the injury.
Yeah.
And put Peters over there on right tackle. And I would not feel very bad about having Zach Martin and Peters next to each other on that right side. At least we know that side would be secure for sure.
Yeah, and that's why I mentioned that, with Cooper Rush, and you hate talking like this about a human being, but this is the reality of it. They may just kind of experiment with the offensive line and see what they can, which is something they're willing to do. I mean, we saw it even with Dak Prescott in the lineup last year. They were willing to tinker and rotate guys and get silly with things. And so, I mean, when it comes to having a backup in the game, I wouldn't be shocked if they are willing to experiment with things. Now, my thinking is still that Terrence Steele has a lot of experience. He didn't play well, but you can use more help and send more help to his side once you get Jason Peters in there at left tackle, move Tyler Smith back to left guard. That takes care of an inexperienced left tackle. It also moves Farniak out of the lineup and puts a powerful, powerful guy in at guard. And suddenly, with Biadasz playing well, if he can repeat that performance or show some consistency, suddenly your right tackle is like, all right, so you're the weak link, huh? All right, we'll send Dalton Schultz, maybe Ferguson over there to help out, send Zeke over there to chip, those types of things. And you could, depending on how Peters pans out, I know that we are all hopeful because of how he played with the Bears, but he's still another year older. It's still a wait and see type of situation there, but you at least feel better going in with that lineup rather than Farniak at left guard, Steele at right tackle. And now you've got a couple of guys, inexperienced left tackle with Smith, who had trouble with his technique and those types of things in college. It's going to be an interesting week to see how they form this offensive line to help protect Cooper Rush.
You just had to say that, didn't you?
That's who they're protecting. That's who it's going to be.
I get it.
But as it is, man, I mean, I don't know. And I kicked around the idea, just letting my imagination run wild, being hopeful, living on a prayer, if you will, that what if Jason Peters makes it all season? What if he's healthy in December and then Tyron does come back, but he's been playing well at left tackle? What do you do then? One of those guys is going to the right side, Peters or Tyron.
Right. One of them's going to go to that side. It's not going to be the Dak Romo situation where this is the hot hand and you're not going to. No, you're going to put. I want to see the best five on that line. And
I don't usually believe in position flexibility, especially at tackle, left tackle, right tackle, swing tackle, that thing. But when you have players to their caliber,
right.
Maybe. My only concern is that they've played left tackle for umpteen years. Can they still make that kind of transition this late?
Honestly, because of Tyron coming off the injury, I probably would just put him where he's comfortable, where he knows at left, not try and screw things up. And so that would be my thought, is that, Peters would go over to the left and yes, we would like to do that, Nix.
Yeah. Hey,
let us know how that would be done.
Yeah, we're trying to be hopeful here. You know what I mean? We're trying to get the whole gang together in December. Whatever the record may be, we'll have Gallup. Right. We'll have Tyron back. We'll have we'll have Dak Prescott hopefully well before then.
Right.
But Nix is right. Let's get to this situation that we have coming up with the Bengals. But part of that situation is they're not putting Dak Prescott on IR. They say they're not. I don't know exactly what's churning in their mind, but that means that roster moves are going to need to be made as far as who will be active against the Bengals. So what sort of move needs to be made? Because it looks like you're going to have 3 quarterbacks.
Right.
Dak's not playing, but they're not putting him on IR. He'll be inactive, of course. You promote and yeah, Massey, I know it's so that he can practice and return sooner. I get that, but
right.
That's not the issue. The issue is that what's best for Dak? Is that realistic? Because initially it was 6 to 8 weeks. Now we've shortened it to 4 to 6 weeks. And if you don't put him on IR, that could shorten it even further. So I'm just trying to listen to the medical professionals and what their take is. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and to keep them on a practice squad and call them up, late. We can Cooper Rush. We've already done it 1. He can only be done 3 times. Wilbur can only be done, called up 3 times. So what kind of jigsaw puzzle thing are they going to be able to play with? If we look at snap counts, if we have to take someone down off of the 53 for, according to the snap counts, this last game, we're talking Ridgeway took no snaps. I mean, I don't know, what position do you steal from now that we've lost Curse and we don't know if Curse is going IR, So now you've got Izzy coming up. Devin Harper,
Jabril Cox.
Yeah.
I mean,
Jabril took no snaps.
Yeah, he was inactive, and I mean, yeah. I'm curious who they. So it may be. I think that the simplest transition, as far as Kirsch goes, is Marquise Bell. I mean, this was the young model. It looks just like him. He's the same exact kind of guy. The only difference is Kirsch played on a national champion Clemson team, and Marquise Bell was at Florida A&M. Small directional school, and he went undrafted. So, right. But he's a striker. He can hit, he can tackle, and that will put you in favor as opposed to Mukwamu, who improved as a tackler. And that's where he made his biggest strides. And that's why he made the 53 this year instead of getting stuck on the practice squad. His improvement as a tackler, he's probably better in coverage currently than Bell, but Bell is the more sure tackler who can give you that kind of hybrid linebacker safety option like they had with Curse. So just based off of that, I think that they go that direction there, and you still got to be able to drop a guy so that you can bring up your backup quarterback.
Right.
McGovern, IR.
Yeah.
That may
be
and
I mean, we don't know what the extent of Curse's injury is at this point in time. My thought would be McGovern could go IR because it is a high ankle sprain, and we know that's a little bit longer time than maybe what they would need.
1 week if you're in Dallas.
Right. It's in the water here. That's what it is. It's just in the water here.
Yeah, I don't know. We also had Basham, who's going to be gone, but it's not as serious. I don't think they'll put him on IR. They've said that was 1 to 2 weeks. So even if it's 3, you keep him around. You were deep at that spot anyway. They went long at that spot. I mean, Stephen Jones to IR. That's pretty good.
You could, yeah. Yes.
He'll
yes,
still be able to
I'm down
work
with
that cell phone from the hospital bed, though, man.
Right. Right. Now, would you? I mean, if you were looking at the linebacker core, would you put down Cox, or I mean, would you have Cox?
He was inactive.
Oh yeah, he was inactive. Oh,
he was that stunner, really. I mean,
right.
It's going to be tough. Now they went long.
It was Devin Harper.
Oh, I don't remember. But I mean, now it's going to become a fight, probably between Bones and Quinn, because your offense isn't deep enough to drop someone. You can drop a wide receiver if you drop Houston, or
or Simi. I mean, let's be realistic.
Or Simi. I was kind of shocked that Houston got run over Simi.
Yeah.
In the first game.
But I think now that Cooper Rush is the quarterback, because I think there's a connection between Cooper Rush and Simi. We saw that a lot in camp and in preseason. Yeah. I would not be surprised if that role doesn't switch and that Simi's ran out there more, just because, quarterbacks have their guys.
Absolutely. They do. I mean, Laurent Robinson was not anything special at all, except for when he was playing with Tony Romo.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how they handle the roster with Dak, with the IR situation. And look, odds are they're going to have to drop a good defensive player. You're losing Curse, you're losing Basham. You're probably also going to have to make way for a quarterback. And perhaps, with McGovern out, what do you do there? Well, I guess Peters is going to be your move there. So that takes care of itself.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
This is tough.
Luke Gifford never saw the field. Luke Gifford had no snap count.
That's why Bones Fossil is going to be involved in the discussion. Those special teams guys. That's why I was stunned that Jabril Cox was inactive over a guy like Luke Gifford. But Gifford probably at this point, I guess, is the better special teamer, because that's the only way I can imagine that he made the roster over Cox, because he looked good. I mean, I wouldn't think that it's the injury still. He looked good in the preseason. Right. I mean, flying around, chasing down guys, scraping down the line of scrimmage. I mean, by all intents and purposes, he seemed healthy.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree.
Oh, man.
Oh, no.
Yeah, coming in hot. Zillow's never accurate anyway, but whatever. For those of you on the house hunt, Camber, here's something that really stood out to me, though. The defense obviously played better than the offense, but you would think maybe there was a guy or two who, all right, yeah, no, he had a really good game, though. The Dallas Cowboys had 5 defenders rated higher than their top offensive player. That's concerning for 2 reasons. One, because you need balance. You need an offense to go with your defense. And 2, Zach Martin, how was he not one of the top 5 rated players? Like, I just expect that from him.
Well, here's the thing. He wasn't, and from listening to the fan this morning, they felt that some of Steele's performance affected his, and that's what brought it down.
But, yeah, and I just wrote up some news and notes yesterday, and that exactly what I noted. Like, Martin did have a good game, but he's playing next to this guy. Get a load of this guy over here and what he's got going on. False starts, holding, 4 penalties. I mean, I know Connor McGovern had a lot of penalties last year, but 4 in one game. Right. Brother, you on pace for 60.
Yeah.
That is not good.
Yeah. I believe our top 5 were Micah, Osa. Oh, the other 2 were. I know that the 5th place was LVE.
It's not surprising. He had a good game.
And yeah, and he was slightly rated above our top offensive player. So
I would imagine that maybe Donovan Wilson might have, and that's just off some splash plays. You don't really get to see the whole thing. The camera follows the ball whenever you're talking about just watching the game until you get the all 22. Yeah, Biadasz did have a good game. And as a matter of fact, some people are saying that he might have had the best game of all of the offensive linemen. And like Camber, like you said, and Massey, like you're pointing out, that Steele might have hurt. And that's also why you take grades with a grain of salt,
right?
Because there's so many things that are hard to factor when you're talking about just hard stats or hard grades. Okay. Let me use, of course, the prime example, the example everybody uses, Trayvon Diggs. So PFF, this is something I learned recently. PFF will dock a player in their grade, a corner, safety, coverage linebacker, whoever, because of separation.
Right.
All right. But Trayvon Diggs plays trail technique. He intentionally allows separation. That's what a trail technique is. And we've seen him get picks off that. So you're going to dock his grade because he's doing something purposefully and then coming up with a turnover. And they'll tell you, yeah, he had the pick, but his position was bad. Right. What are you talking about? Well, look at all that space. He did that intentionally. He did that on purpose and came away with a pick. You can't tell me that was bad. So I feel like we're kind of getting a little bit of the same when it comes to Zach Martin playing next to Terrence Steele.
Yeah. I just found the list. So Micah Parsons, number 1 at 85.8. Tristan Hill at 81. Osa at 75.5. Chauncey Golston at 70.9. And Leighton Vander Esch at 69.6.
Okay. See, I'm So you're telling me, no, listen.
No, I get it.
The top 5 were box players. The top 5 grades were box players, right? Yet Tampa Bay ran for nearly 200, like 170 something yards. Make it make sense.
I don't work for PFF.
I feel you. But
I get it. I get it.
You got 2 linebackers and 3 defensive tackles, 2.5 defensive tackles with Chauncey in there. Got gashed in the run game. 155 yards for Leonard Fournette. I don't know. But I will say that the offense, this is something we knew going in, and this is going to be an interesting test for both the Cowboys and the Bengals. You may think the Bengals made the Super Bowl, they're just going to run over the Dallas Cowboys. But what a lot of people don't really realize is the Bengals did this with their defense. They won a game 19-16 in the playoffs. I mean, they were winning games 24-17. I mean, yeah, Joe Burrow is that dude, Jamar Chase is that guy. They're legit. Right. Joe Mixon is a monster.
But is Joe Mixon? I saw him go down. He's hurt or is he okay?
I have no idea. I don't know. And I'm usually not this guy, but you've got me in this league, fantasy football league. And I lost by.
Draft him?
I did. He was a keeper.
Okay. Oh, that's
Joe
right.
Mixon, Dak was my quarterback, and I had Jerry Jeudy left to play, and I lost by 2 points because of injuries and because of coaching in Denver. And I hate it because I'm not that guy. I usually don't care at all about fantasy football. but I'm in this league, and so I feel like I have to care.
Right. Yeah. No, I lost in 2 of my 7, and both of them were because I let some dumb boy convince me not to start Cordell Patterson.
It wasn't in our league, was it?
No,
because you drafted him high, and then he went out and balled. Because people were like kind of Cordell Patterson that high. You could have got him 4 or 5 rounds later, and then he had himself a day.
Yeah. So, yeah. No.
Now this is interesting.
I won in our league. I beat George Teague. Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about
Mr.
that.
Teague this week. But no. In fact, no. I did bench Cordell in our league.
Oh, but still
and
won.
So I still won. But
Teague took the guy I wanted first. I wanted Austin Eckler, and I kind of made like a under my breath, like did something like that. And I think he thought that I was judging him for taking Austin Eckler that high with his first pick.
Right.
And the reality was like, nah, that was my guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get back to this game. Jose Ultra Cowboy says 7 sacks. And here's the thing. Obviously, 7 sacks, 4 picks. That's high hopes, but that's kind of what the Bengals allow. That's where you can beat the Bengals, is getting to Joe Burrow. They give up a lot of sacks. The issue is going to come on the other end, of course, whenever you have to go up against that Bengals defense. That's honestly why they won and went to the Super Bowl. Burrow was clutch. Burrow had grand moments, but the totality of the games, defenses were able to get to him. They were able to knock him on his butt. It was just a matter of a quarterback who's young and tough and was able to get back, hop on the saddle and make that play. It wasn't necessarily great play from quarter 1 until zeros in the 4th. It was, man, my team needs something. My team's got to have it right now. I haven't been great all game. Let me go get it for them. And he went and got it for them. That's how the Bengals have operated. And they needed that in week 1 and didn't get it against the Steelers. As a matter of fact, the Steelers offered them up multiple opportunities, and it still didn't happen for them. So I'm really kind of wondering, a little bit about, if Dallas can, they're going to have to put up points, but you would be able to win this game perhaps in a 21-17 type of battle.
Right. We are talking, their corners are Cheeto and Eli Apple.
Oh, that's all day.
Right. So
except they're going to put 2 other guys on CD. So
right. So I don't know that. But they're healthy. That defense is very healthy right now.
Yeah.
They've got some guys that are out, but for the most part, they seem fairly healthy. Something did happen with T. Higgins. He didn't return, so he had a concussion. So who knows if he clears? Huh?
Who's that?
T. Higgins.
Higgins.
Okay. Yeah, he's got a concussion. We don't know if he's cleared protocol. So, that's one of their big targets.
Yeah, they have a really stellar offense as far as their skill position guys go. They have, guys everywhere. And yeah, Bruce, it doesn't stun me at all that they were open. The problem is, even though they went out and tried to address the offensive line in the offseason, Leo Collins got whooped. And I understand that a lot of it was against TJ Watt. And, that's fine.
Right.
And a lot of people are going to point that out. My response to that is, okay, Micah Parsons. I don't know if, a lot of people nationally are going to allow the Parsons is equal or better than TJ Watt talk, but we believe that. I'll put Micah is I mean, the savior right now.
Right.
So
right.
I would gladly put him up with anybody, and I don't think Leo Collins can stop Micah Parsons.
Right. They do. I mean, their safeties are a concern for me.
Sure.
I mean, you're talking about Von Bell, Dax. They've got Dax Hill. Who's the other? Bates. Yeah. So, there's going to be a lot of pressure there.
Those guys are, they're going to help out with those corners a lot. And Cheeto is not a bad corner.
No,
he's
that's who he is. He's caused a lot of penalties. I mean, that's one of his things. He's a penalty guy.
And it's still his MO to, be in position, but get caught on, Yeah. Not great ball skills, but great technique, great positioning. Yeah. It happened this past week as well.
Right. I can't see much about Eli Apple. I don't know.
All I know is he is the butt of a joke, and I don't know why, but he is constantly the butt of the joke when people talk about corners. I mean, but yeah, Massey's pointing this out, and this is great information to have because it just shows efficiency. Now, Watt's rushing anytime the ball is snapped going back to the quarterback, and Parsons isn't, but they have the benefit of being able to move him around. He can come up the A gap, over tackle, over center, and he can do a lot more things than Watt can. And I think that Parsons benefits from that. But when you see a guy just one-on-one with him, we saw it with Donovan Smith. He gets strong upfield and then hits him with a spin move back inside. There's no one to help Donovan Smith, and down goes Tom Brady. Now you're talking about a guy who holds the ball a little bit longer. Their offense relies more on those receivers developing routes. They want Jamar Chase as their deep threat. They're trying to get him down the field, So there's going to be a little bit more of an opportunity to get to Joe Burrow than there was to get to Tom Brady.
Yeah, totally agree with that. I just saw someone comment something. Oh, and they are saying that TJ Watt's pec is probably not torn and not going to require surgery. But I did just hear that.
Well, good.
Yeah. Fantastic. We don't play him We don't play him. Who cares?
Yeah, you just don't want that for a guy. And
No, and I like TJ. No, I saw a question and now I can't find it.
Yeah. Now, how good are we going to feel if this is a, let's say, 5-6 week return for Dak, but we get Michael Gallup back week 3, week 4, and then you get Jason Peters plugged in? Is it going to be entirely indicative of the record on whether or not we're excited? Because whenever Dak Prescott returns, is there a chance that when Dak comes back, we're still looking at such a bad situation that, man, I just don't know. I mean, if you lose to the Bengals, you're 0-2. You don't have Dak Prescott. Then you go to, let's see, I got the schedule up. We hadn't talked a lot about the schedule. We talked briefly.
I got it right here.
I feel like you should beat the Giants. James Washington at some point. James Washington never really did anything for me. He never moved the needle. I mean.
And do we even have any kind of update on his injury at all? Like, is he even on the radar for anything?
His was always an 8 to 10 week return. I don't think that ever changed. So we were looking at the first month, after the first month. So he should be back here in another 2 to 3 weeks as we get closer to October.
Yeah. New York, we have a chance. Washington could go either way. Even as dismal as the Rams looked against the Bills, I'm not putting much into that at all. But But I think Gallup's going to create an entirely different scenario in coverage, and that CD won't be double teamed as much, and that there will be some opportunity there.
And this is why I'm kind of lost on why Simi isn't playing right now, because, or Turpin, you didn't have
Put the speed out there.
Exactly. And I understand that, maybe you like Noah Brown better, but Noah Brown is an underneath route possession kind of guy. Wow. Where did that go? Wow. We'll get to this. But
Whoa.
Yeah, that's stunning and concerning and also exciting. And I got a lot of things running through my mind whenever he says that. But The thing is, you want to stretch the field. That's the problem with the Cowboys right now. They can't stretch the field. They have one guy, but you haven't given these other guys an opportunity, like Simi, like Turpin, who you told us was a legit wide receiver. You told us he's a real wide receiver. Oh, he'll be in the offense. Oh, by golly. And we're going to get Pollard involved. They got Pollard involved in the wrong ways.
Right.
You just can't believe anything they say. If they refuse to put speed on the field to try to stretch things, that's weird. So you pointed out these defensive lines, Bengals, New York Giants, Commanders, and Rams. So we're looking at 1, 2, 3. I mean, I guess for the Rams in 4 weeks, that matches the new timeline.
Yeah, it would be the 3 weeks.
So that's, man, I just, we saw last year where they would say 4 to 6 weeks, and then it would be 7 or 8. And they were so cautious. That was the thing. Everybody's kind of starting to ask, what does Mike McCarthy do? And I've heard a lot of the answer be he's good at keeping the roster healthy because he doesn't take those chances rushing guys back. And I understand we don't necessarily know. They know more than we do. I mean, they're in-house. We're not. So perhaps we just don't know what they know. You're good. Go ahead.
No. I just can't live with there's this voice in the back of my head and this fear going on that, and I know it wasn't a thumb, it was a finger. Russell Wilson broke that finger last year, had the surgery, was back in 2-3 weeks at the most. I think he only missed 1 game, right? It was disastrous. It was disastrous.
Looked terrible.
Yeah, horrible.
Can't hold on to the ball.
Right. And I don't know. I just have this little fear in the back of my head that they're going to be rushing him back, but what do I know?
It could go either way. And I'm trying to whenever it comes to injuries, it's always best to lean on the side of they know better than we do. But then that's more of a universal rule. That applies to like each and every team, each and every organization. When it's the Dallas Cowboys, they've lied to us so many times. I just can't, even whenever I say, okay, well, we have to kind of default to what they tell us. All right, but I just don't believe what you tell me anymore. I mean, I simply can't. You've politicianed your way through so many years, and whenever you could put a product on the field that gave us hope, you could get away with it. I mean, you look at a season ago, you could tell us things and we would buy it because we were 12-5. But right now, with everything coming to fruition that we were afraid of, and you still looking us in the eyes and telling us that, well, we're encouraged by this. And, oh, by the way, if you're worried about this issue, that's that guy's fault, not ours. So Yeah, I mean, Professor O, Gallimore was out 3 to 4 weeks. He ended up missing a little more than a month. So that was the MO that here's what McCarthy does well, keeps the roster healthy by giving a guy an extended week or two, maybe. But this is your quarterback.
Right.
This is the guy who makes the team go. If he can't go, then you're dead in the water. You're done. And you got to win some games along the way so that he can try to carry you when he gets back.
Right. From what you saw in the game on Sunday, do you let Dennis Houston get back on the field?
I mean,
or do you let or do you see what you have with the other guys? I mean, honestly,
I don't know why Simi isn't getting the opportunity over Houston. I'm curious about the whole Jalen Tolbert situation. Of course, I think everyone is. And again, more of a universal rule, but don't put a ton of stock into draft picks. Remember, Neville Gallimore's rookie year, 3rd round pick, he hardly played, So it happens. I get it. I understand that. But you're looking at a roster that has nobody. I mean, you've got one guy, one receiver, CeeDee Lamb. After that, I mean, you look at some of the picks that were taken before him. Sky Moore is a number 2 on this team. I mean, and I'm not even talking about those guys who went early. I'm not talking about the Garrett Wilsons, about the Drake Londons. I'm not talking. Of course, they would be on.
Right.
I'm talking about, George Pickens. Oh, he's your number 2, And so that's my issue with the whole Jalen Tolbert thing is you get the benefit of the doubt because you're a rookie.
Right.
You weren't a 1st or 2nd round pick. You're a 3rd round pick. All right. You need a little time. I get it. The only problem is you got beat out by an undrafted guy who's also a rookie. You got beat out by a 6th round pick from last year. You got beat out by a guy who has like 150 career yards in a 5-year career. I mean, that's where it's ugly and concerning for Tolbert. And I'm not worried about him long term. I'm not worried about his Cowboys career because he still has time to grow. You draft a guy for 4 years. And so, yeah, okay, I'm not overly concerned about the future of Jalen Tolbert. I'm just concerned about why he can't get on the field right now. Yeah, Sky Moore had 1 catch. You know why? Because after Tyreek Hill left, they went and loaded up their offensive weapons again.
Right.
I mean, they have Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. They have other guys from last year, Marcole Hardman. They have a loaded
and you got Kels, and you have Kels.
Travis Kelce, yeah.
You got Kelce.
Of course. I'm talking about if they were Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
I mean, you can say that, well, this guy didn't have a great day. But yeah, he's down the roster.
Yeah.
Here is a Dallas Cowboy. You better get ready for some action because you are needed now. And Jalen Tolbert's needed now, but he's not available because he's not playing well enough, evidently.
Yeah, because we have a list of the top guys of getting separation in Sunday's game. Noah Brown, top. Number one. Next on this list, Dalton Schultz. And then Houston, and then CeeDee.
Yeah. CeeDee, it's not a surprise. You talk about separation. Noah needs to get separation from one guy.
Right.
CeeDee needs to get separation from 2 to 3.
Yeah.
I mean,
but we're gonna Pollyanna the moment for here. They were all higher than any Tampa Bay receiver, which means our secondary was doing its job.
Yeah, and that's also a great makes me feel good about going into Cincinnati. Because, again, Joe Burrow will take a sack. That offensive line will give up sacks to Joe Burrow. Tom Brady does not. Tom Brady gets the ball out of his hand, whether it is just floating it away for an incompletion instead of taking a sack. I mean, the fact Micah Parsons got 2 on him is impressive. It's very impressive. Now you got a guy who as we mentioned, relies on those receivers getting downfield, those routes, having to take time to process. And I think that there's going to be a lot more opportunity for the Dallas Cowboys against the Cincinnati offense, even though those are still tough receivers. You still got to deal with crunch time Joe Burrow when that point comes. And in order to get to crunch time Joe Burrow, you're going to have to put points on the board.
I was trying to see if I could find Joe Burrow's release time, and I'm not seeing it.
Well, it's not necessarily the release time; it's the decision.
Right.
How quick it may. Yeah, and like I said, how your offense runs with those receivers. I mean, the coaches help Tom Brady by saying, "All right, here's your hot route. Here's your escape plan," and Tom Brady just executes that better than anyone in the history of the NFL ever has. And now you get Joe Burrow, who they rely on big plays a lot. I mean, they want Jamar Chase striking from 50 yards out. That's who they are. And they do that because they have a run game that can load up the box, that can create some soft defensive backfields. And the Dallas Cowboys have the exact opposite issue, where it's just constantly rushing for, and now we're just going to overload the defensive backfield. It's going to be an interesting game. I think it's going to be another low-scoring game for the Dallas Cowboys. And I would expect that to continue until Dak Prescott gets back.
Oh, yeah. We're just going to scrap our way through these. I mean, the defense, I feel like the defense can hold its own. This week, definitely against the Giants. I mean, I have no issues with our defense against the Giants and Washington too. I'm not foreseeing anything in that area that it's going to be difficult with our defense. It's going to be what can our offense actually put together.
Yeah, that's without question. Now, as far as Cincinnati goes, offense against their defense, I mean, they're stout. They're extremely good. They've got pretty much guys at every level who can play. Now, how many of them are like bona fide all-pro caliber type of dudes? I don't know. Maybe in that defensive backfield, we're talking about the safeties, how good their safeties are. But I can tell you this, they are complete.
Right.
They don't have any holes on their defense, and that's why you see them constantly playing these low-scoring games, and then Joe Burrow comes and makes the big play, and he's the one who gets all the praise. That's the way football works. Quarterback gets all the blame, all the praise. It could be a 7-3 game, and if you threw that touchdown with 4 seconds left, you're the hero, not the ones who held the other team to 3. You, brother, you could have had 4 interceptions at that point. So, but Joe Burrow, a 2.7 time throw. There you go. So,
and someone get Jose Xanax or something. Good God! Oh no, he's trading.
He's trying to get Will Levis in here. Man, I mean,
a first and second, and then a first.
Yeah, you guys know the best way to handle that sort of thing, right? It's just ignore him. You don't really want to. I mean, that's A1, but man, Camber, we're about to have to dip up out of here. We've been on for about an hour and 10 minutes. Looks like we covered his Dak injury prone. We're not ready to say that at this point in time. I do not mind quickly revisiting Mike McCarthy not knowing the offense. It just goes right along with the whole he's a lazy buffoon, Yeah. And I've maintained ever since the dude stepped foot in here. And what was it? You remember Charlie fuck around, don't live here no more.
Right.
No, brother, you are the embodiment, actually. Like, that is you, He just changed his name from Charlie to Mike. And that's who we have running this team all of a sudden. So let's touch on Mike McCarthy not knowing the offense. And again, this came from G-Bag Nation on 105.3 The Fan. Brian Broaddus trying to be slick, trying to slide it in there. Real cool, nonchalant. I love BB. I love that the way that he presents those kind of things. He's like, yeah, man, so, they say that he doesn't really know the offense, and that's why he can't take it over from Kellen Moore. But what are you guys having for lunch? And you're like, brother, what did you just say? Forget lunch. I ain't worried about lunch. What did you just say? I love BB for that type of approach to it, that delivery. How big of a problem is that?
It's gigantic. It's huge. I mean, can you imagine, that you're an offensive coach and that you literally don't know what the plays are that are being called on the field in a game that you are in charge of?
Let me ask you, do you think that Dan Quinn could go to George Edwards and say anything at all, anything to do with the defense at all, and George Edwards go, what's that? What do you mean? There's not a single thing. George Edwards, I promise you, knows this thing backwards and forwards. He's out there helping bring players in because of how they fit the defense.
Right.
All right. Mike McCarthy, again, first year of his entire career that he went out and helped with the draft. And now we hear that he doesn't know the language in the offense. So if Kellen really isn't getting the job done, if Kellen really does become a problem, who takes over?
I mean,
it's Kellen's playbook.
It's his playbook. And Mike has had 3 years to learn it and not. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not even sure. Who does it go down to? Who does it get handed to?
But couldn't you just see Mike McCarthy going up to Dak and being like, all right, we're going to run the one. Remember the one where is the double handoff in the backfield that Kellen used to do? I don't know what you guys called it, but do that one on 3.
Right.
Like it really makes me wonder what this guy does.
Right. Do you think Kyle Shanahan sits on the sideline and has no idea?
No, Kyle Shanahan. I mean, that's probably Kyle Shanahan and his writing all over the walls for their offensive coordinator.
Right.
But
I'm going through the list of coaches in my head in the NFL currently that would just be like, I don't know what play they called. I'm not sure what they just called.
Yeah. Nix, McCarthy, and look, the things that were said at the end of last year, I find it funny because we're now hearing them repeated after week 1. All right. I remember at the end of last year, Mike McCarthy, we're gonna clean up these penalties, and we're gonna go back to work. We're gonna work on some things. What did he say after week 1? The exact same thing. Said the exact same thing. What did we hear about Jerry Jones after the loss to San Francisco? Media was out there. Oh, Jerry is pissed. Jerry is mad. You guys, Jerry is furious. And then he did nothing about it at all. Week 1, we see the picture of him and Steven walking back to the locker room. Guys, Jerry is mad. I'm like, okay, go be mad. You're not going to do anything about it. Go be mad.
Right.
Go blow off some steam. All right. But that's what bothers me. Is this team, again, Knicks, here it comes. This one's for you. They're not proactive. They're reactive.
They're reactive.
They're reactive.
Completely.
They're not, we're the Avengers. We're not the Prevengers. We don't think ahead of time. Jason Peters is out there saying, well, I'd like to be on a team that competes. I don't care if I'm a backup. Doesn't bother me being a backup. I'm cool with being a backup. I just want to help teach some young guys on a team that can compete. That sounds like you could have brought him in before Tyron got hurt. No, I don't think Jason Peters is being honest. Let's keep it a buck. He's saying the right things. That's cool. Right. He knows how this goes. He's a vet. But at the end of the day, you were reactive to when Tyron Smith went down, as if you didn't know it was coming.
I have a little job for Mike McCarthy. Penalties. Penalties were such a thing last year.
Yeah.
Like, the worst thing. We had 10 penalties on Sunday. 8 of them on offense, 2 of them on special teams. Guess what? None of them on defense. Dan Quinn and that defensive coaching staff have tightened up, become disciplined, and done what they needed to. We need the other side of the ball to do it. And maybe Mike McCarthy could focus on that, since he seems to have all this free time.
That's because defense doesn't sell, so they don't need to play defense any particular way. I mean, you might get some Michael Parsons jerseys out there. You might get some D-Law jerseys floating around. LVE,
Diggs.
first round pick, Diggs, absolutely. You might get some of that stuff, but offense is what brings in the bucks. And we have to make sure that we operate this thing in a specific way so that we can keep that money coming in. The only problem is you're not winning that way. You're not winning that way. No matter how bad you want to, you can't force winning a certain way when other teams are adapting to NFL life today and succeeding. You're going to lose. It's just like we beg for motion, right? We want more motion in the offense. Motion. Come on, use a little more motion. Even when we get it, we're still only using it to identify a coverage. All right, is it man-to-man or is it zone? All right, cool. Now you stand there and we're going to snap the ball. That's what Dallas Cowboys motion is used for. Other teams are using motion to get leverage against defenders. They're using it so that my guy is on the run already and sprinting to the sideline so that you can take a look at how the Kansas City Chiefs scored their last touchdown. It had nothing to do with Pat Mahomes being this incredible, great quarterback. They just put Hardman in motion, jet from right to left. The defender gets mixed up in his own traffic because he's got to go through his whole defense. Their back is against the end zone. All right. So he doesn't have a whole lot of room to maneuver. And Hardman just dead sprint in motion, gets to the goal line, ball delivered, touchdown. Because that other defender was compromised by the leverage of the wide receiver going in motion. Dallas is still like, point A, point B, there's your motion. We identify zone coverage. Okay, here's now go. Like, it's still, even when we do a little bit more, it's still too far behind what today's NFL is. And that ain't good. We were supposed to have Boy Wonder. We were supposed to have the future. And I'm not sure we have it.
Yeah, no. And up until game 6 last year, I was for what was happening. And the minute someone figured him out, the wheels fell off and nothing changed. There was no adapting. There was no changing. There was no switching.
And they've got to figure it out. They've had all offseason to figure out these 4-man rush, drop 7. They've had all offseason. And how you come out against Tampa Bay, and at the end of the game, Tampa Bay tells us, yeah, they just did what they did last year.
Right.
Devin White said it. He was like, yeah, they had all this talk about running the football. We knew they weren't really going to do it. They were just going to do exactly what their same game plan. They came up with the same game plan. And it's like, you can't do that, man.
No. I don't know.
All right. Think we've got enough out.
I think we have. It's a daily. Oh, there's Spoon. Hey, Spoon.
Hey.
Yeah, it's a process right now with our healing.
God, a process. You guys be sure to like and subscribe. Pick Six Sports. We've got more shows on the way. I know Camber and Massey, you guys going to have a show.
Yeah, we'll be on Thursday at noon.
Friday Night Freestyle.
I'm sorry, I'm wrong. Thursday, 1:45 Central.
Oh, yeah.
11:45. Yeah, 11:45 Pacific.
I'm just going to call it Massey time.
Yeah, on Massey time.
11:45 Massey time. You guys.
11:45 Massey time.
Friday Freestyle, of course, is going to be Friday night. I think they do that around 9:30. So be sure that you guys are tuned in. That's going to be Camber, Massey on their show. And then you got Nix, Spoonie, Mariella. You got a loaded show on Matt O, my guy. That's right. You guys enjoy it. It's great content. There's going to be a lot happening between now and Thursday, now and Friday. And these guys will keep you all up to date. So enjoy your Tuesday. This has been Due Diligence. We appreciate you guys stopping by.